Oh, son of a gun. Why do I not have access to get to my folder on my laptop?
Everybody had that problem at one point or another.
I
So you're not the only one. If that makes you feel any better.
Stop it.
You know, if I can't get to it, nobody else can.
Little government opacity never hurt anybody.
Secure. Just check. All right, I'll do my gavel. I'd like to call the Village of Middleville regular council meeting to order. Rhonda, may I have roll call, please?
Mike Kramer,
Here.
Steve Baldry,
Here.
Robert Bishop,
Here.
Richard Hamilton, Mackenzie Peters,
Here.
Kevin Smith,
Here.
Ann Williams,
Here.
All right, please rise for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Everyone should have a copy of the agenda in front of them.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Support.
We have a motion with support to approve the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I support.
We have a motion with support to approve the consent agenda consisting of the approval of minutes for the regular council meeting of January 23rd, 2024, and the approval of the bills for February 8th, 2024, totaling $566,401.56. Rhonda, may I have roll call, please?
Sure. Richard Hamilton,
Aye.
Mackenzie Peters,
Aye.
Kevin Smith,
Aye.
Ann Williams,
Aye.
Steve Baldry,
Aye.
Robert Bishop,
Aye.
Mike Kramer.
Aye. Motion carries. Public comment? If anybody's interested, please take the podium.
Kim Jackham. I am here for the DDA and myself, and I'm here to answer any questions when it comes up to the appointment of the new board members. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. We don't have anybody for reserve time, so now we have a petition for the mini market. Good evening, Lauren.
Hello, I'm Lauren with My Sister's Closet. So just wanted to talk a little bit about the mini market. So we're trying something new this year, and usually we do 2 large markets out at the Berry Expo Center, once in the spring, once in the fall. And so this year we want to try something different where we do the spring one downtown here. And we're calling it mini because we would be hoping to do 20 vendors under the pavilion in hopes that people will come shop from them and then all of the businesses in Middleville. So that is what we're requesting. And then also I'd be requesting, if possible, to waive the peddler's permit for this event for those vendors.
I believe we've waived the peddler's permit in the past for other events.
We've waived them for some of her events under the umbrella of the DDA. So,
Thoughts? Anybody?
I think it'd be cool.
And just, my input would be that this, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Just because I'm for it.
I think you do so many things downtown and bring so many people down here all the time with your activities. So I'd certainly be in support of that.
Scroll on down here for the. Oh, there's no suggested action. I'll make a motion that we approve the event permit
Did you-
for.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but Alec, did you get your questions answered? You had a couple questions on here?
No,
Okay.
Oh, staying fast.
just with the parking restrictions, were you planning on restricting for event attendees only, or is that just for like vendors to be set up in the spaces?
Yeah, it's similar to what we did before. The only parking that would be blocked off is these ones right in front of the pavilion, just for a couple food vendors and then for line. So
And then just placement of how many extra trash cans you need and stuff like that, what we can talk about that later.
Yep.
And I have one question too. If we look at waiving those fees, if you could put that in the motion, but also are we waiving those peddlers fees for all vendors, including the food vendors? That,
Is that the request?
If it's possible, I'd love to waive them for all, but I understand if the food trucks would need them still.
I just need to know what we're doing.
Any concerns with waiving them?
I think the only reason we have the permit for the food trucks is so we can verify the license, if I'm correct.
Mhm.
So I would be okay with waiving the vendor fees, but maybe not so much the food truck, so
Yep.
that we don't end up spending money.
Mhm.
Fair. Okay, I will fix my motion so that I will make a motion that we approve the event request permit for My Sister's Closets Mini Market and waive the vendor fees for the vendors not including food trucks.
Support.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
All right, we have a motion with support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we have no ordinances and resolutions, so Craig, you're up.
This is weird angle on this thing right now. Anyway, good evening. You got my report in front of you. Thanks again for the leadership training everybody attended. I did receive a quote for strategic planning, which would be the same price as what we paid for the training, which would be about $3,000 plus any other expenses for about the same time frame. I presented it to President Kramer yesterday. He suggested we reach out to the TAPRC and invite them at the same time. Is there anybody else? And then I guess, I'll bring you the formal proposal at probably MCOW so we can discuss it further. But if there's anybody else you'd like me to include in that, just, let me know. We can discuss that at that time. Check your emails or reach out to K Group for the multi-factor authentication. I know Mr. Baldry did already. I don't know if anybody else has had a chance to, but make sure you take care of that.
I'm a little less hairy than I was. A 5-hour process.
And then the end of April, we were looking to do a joint meeting with the Downtown Development Authority. And I'm also going to try to reach out to the MEDC and see if they can attend that at the same time. So if we can schedule that for 6 o'clock as opposed to our regular 7 o'clock meeting, I'll plan on that. And the Berry that win high success rate. I think we're there. Didn't think it was very useful. So any thoughts on not doing it?
I thought, as a business perspective, it was a good event. I don't know how it was for village municipality.
Dick and I went. I think maybe 2 people came up to talk to us. They came and grabbed a
Sure.
stuff, but
Okay. That was kind of my thought on that, but the Berry County Fair, I think, is still a good opportunity. So if you could sign up for that, I think we'd be better off doing that. So,
Okay.
all right. And then just, staff's doing great. Everybody's learning lots of stuff and doing really good things. So any other questions for me? All right.
Thank you, Craig. Alec?
Hello. Just quick recap on a couple things. We did finally receive the enhanced crosswalks for Grand Rapids Street at Charles Lafayette at the Snack Shack. We will be installing those hopefully here in the next couple months, early spring or so. High Street reconstruction plans are about at a 90% level. We're waiting on some documentation and feedback from MDOT through that grant process we have before we can send that out to bid. So we're kind of in a holding pattern. It's just a process that we have to go through. So everything is approved it's a 90 or 10 to 8 weeks lead time before we can send them out. And that 10 to 8 weeks started in about mid-November. So any week now, we should be able to send those out once we get that approval. Along with that, staff's been working with Williams Works on trying to get a cost estimate around for the replacement of the wall, retaining wall, and the parking lot. I did receive that cost estimate back. Craig and I both had a chance to review it. As of right now, I don't plan on bringing that in front of council. It's exorbitantly higher than
The last time we looked at it.
not
4
even
times.
fathomable. It's very high.
What's without giving it up, what's the range in terms of what
I'll gladly give up. Their cost estimate is $389,000.
Okay.
For to replace that retaining wall and repave that small parking lot.
It was 300,000 to demo the fire barn when we looked at that.
Yes,
And it includes, and it
Included a
the
parking
retaining,
lot.
Right.
yes. So right now, staff and myself are.
Is that the same provider, like, or the same firm that we?
Yeah, it's Williams and Works. So I had Williams and Works, they did a very simplistic plan and figure out, okay, how much is this roughly going to cost us? Before we do every single project, they give us a cost estimate. They're estimating, okay, we're gonna have this much money into engineering, plan work, site work, construction costs would cost about this much. And right now, the biggest cost is about $180,000 for that retaining wall. So we're looking at various different options. I think I have one in mind that will still be able to redo that parking lot, but maybe not have to do as much to the retaining wall as originally planned. So
That's,
The original quote was done with a different,
So the original quote, it wasn't actually a quote. The original, back in 2015, they guesstimated 3 different options of how much it would cost us. And at that time, they were guessing it was going to be about $60,000 to replace it. They never actually went through the process.
I see. Okay.
so
And that was
the
2015.
the 387, is that a poured wall?
No, that is
That's the stacked block?
that is the large stack block wall. So that is the cheaper option. So, but it's like I said, nothing's set in stone yet. We're still exploring all options. But right now, there's no way I personally could or professionally recommend going with that. So
Is it just the scope though? Was it like just along the north wall, the north
Yes.
wall along it? It didn't include the east wall?
oh, it included the entire wall, north and east wall, and tearing up the parking lot, put a new wall base down, and repaving the whole parking lot.
Okay,
That's a bit more than we were looking at last time, though.
I think so too.
Right. So
But whatever, that's huge.
News come with that. Gretchen did reach out to me, said DDA, might be interested in helping in some downtown projects as a whole. So we still got to talk a little bit more on that. With not a lot of snow, DPW staff's been doing a lot of preventive maintenance work in our utilities, in our well houses, trying to bring our well houses back up to excellent standards, I should say, the interiors of them. They've always been really good standards, but such as just going through, replacing some lighting, repainting some of the old piping and things, different control work and things like that, and replacing some piping and some metering and stuff. Then also potholes, have been fairly limited this year. But this time of year, freeze thaw and water, they turn up fairly quickly. So we're keeping an eye on those and patching those as quick as we can. So any other questions, comments?
You said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sergeant Ware?
Good evening, everybody. Evening. All right, middle unit for Berry County Sheriff's Office, month of January. For our criminal complaints, we had 7 assaults. We had 1 larceny fraud. We had 1 break-in and entering. We had 1 MIP citation, 2 malicious destruction of properties, 1 harassment case, 2 threats, 1 obscenity, 1 CSC, and 1 criminal traffic complaint. For our non-criminal complaints, we had 6 suspicious situations, 9 general non-criminals, 3 general assists, 14 traffic parking complaints, 1 animal complaint. We had 4 abandoned 911s. There were no lost and found property ones. 3 alarms, 1 suicidal subject. For accidents, we had 8 property damage crashes, none involving injury. Incident count of 77. We had 17 traffic stops with 5 citations issued. We had no ORV complaints or stops. Our approximate police contacts were 42 automobiles, 132 persons. Our community policing contacts was approximately 66, and we used 24 hours of count time for the month. Any questions on the stats?
I do, Mr. President, for me. Were you ever to find, not on the stats, but from our last meeting, were you ever able to generate that
Work in
list of?
progress.
Oh, it's still a work in
Work in
progress,
progress.
okay.
It's going to take some time.
I
I
know.
literally have to go through 365 days worth of dailies to
Yeah.
figure out what those are, because there's not a way to just do a quick search on them.
Okay.
So it's taking time. But yeah, it's work in progress.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
The only other thing I'll add, you'll see in about the next month or two, the sheriff's office is getting away from our old brown uniforms. We're switching to black uniforms. So you'll see a new look from us here soon. So don't be alarmed when you see us in black instead of brown.
Just in time for summer?
Just in time for summer. Thanks.
Should make parades easy.
I thought they were already planned.
Liaison reports. The library committee did not meet
Next week.
next week.
And then I have TAPRC tomorrow,
Okay.
but they don't post an agenda, so.
All right. We will move on to waste hauler agreement.
Sorry. As requested, I worked with Jack Brown and Republic Services on the updated waste hauler agreement. It has the new prices included in here. Any questions on this? They were looking at March 23rd, the weekend of March 23rd, to do the community-wide cleanup and do it on just one day as opposed to 2 days. I reached back out to him and suggested that might be a little bit early in the spring. But if that was the date that they could get the most men here, or people here, excuse me, to do, all the work that needs to be done. And then, look at different options for 2025 moving forward. So,
Yeah, I noticed that they're gonna start at 6,
yes,
Seven,
they can
6
start
to
at
7.
6. Yep.
and the rates are consistent with what the draft was when he
Yes.
was here before.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Welcome.
I have a comment, I guess.
Okay.
Heard feedback from residents who are really confused of what they pay now to what they're gonna pay in the
Okay.
future. Even some comments of, you're doubling what we're paying now. I'd like to see us put something in the paper or something that
Sure.
kind of explains a month by month increase, so we don't,
Yep.
4 or 5% doesn't balloon up to be 90%.
Yep.
So,
And Greg Chandler from the Sun and News did request that specific information a couple weeks ago. So I wouldn't be surprised. I didn't read it in the paper necessarily, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was already in the paper. But we can definitely put that back out there again. We'll put it on,
Okay.
social media and stuff like that.
And it may help.
So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
isn't that supposed to be monthly, not weekly?
Yes.
Okay, that makes more sense, because, I can see where Steve's saying that's gonna be a substantial increase.
Yeah, it's monthly.
It's
So
monthly.
We
that
get a
make-
monthly
that's-
invoice that we pay.
Yeah.
I think that's the frequency of service is what they're saying
Yes.
here, but as most of these
Yes.
matrix are confusing and riddled with mystery, maybe maybe a percentage of what the increase would look like and just keep it super easy.
Mhm.
For 65 gallon, it's a 3% and
It's a lot more than
6%,
that.
6%.
Yeah.
So a 6% increase, 95 is X,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. I think we fail miserably when we try to give the exact amount. I think maybe we just show a percentage and then give like the starting point of like where the, like day one on the new contract would look like, and then just say this represents a 6.5% increase from what you were previously paying.
Sure. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the increases haven't gone into effect yet,
Correct.
correct?
Not
Okay.
until after, be April 20th, is it?
Because I had a
Whenever the
couple,
new contract. April 1st, maybe? Yeah.
I had a couple people approach me saying, well, I got double billed or it's already been doubled. And I said, well, maybe there was a billing error, so call them
Yeah,
directly first.
they
and-
can always call Republic and,
Yeah,
Could we just review whatever is going out to the public before you put it out there? Just, even if it's just, and maybe this is below the board, but maybe just have Mr. Kramer and I just look at it and look for clarity on what the message is going to look like going out to the public.
Yeah, because if we scroll back up to the chart, Like, it says 95 gallon carts weekly, but that's weekly service, but that's a monthly. bill.
Right, monthly
Right.
rate.
I just think that might be
Yeah,
helpful for.
weekly service.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I read
Yeah.
through it, so I kind of got what it was saying, but
I mean,
if people are just looking at the chart, that makes sense.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion that we accept this bid from Republic.
With the small verbiage change?
I mean, we could just put like / per month on the.
Well, so
rate.
the email, this is just an email. This is not included in the contract. The contract is what it is, and it has the rates in there specific.
I don't know that there's any change needed to the motion because it is the contract, right?
Right.
It's a
It's just
contract.
Yeah.
proof of contract.
We're,
Yeah.
we're just extending the contract. But I
Yes.
think from a
Yes.
messaging perspective,
Yeah.
we just.
Yeah, in the,
I'm talking the contract, not the message.
okay, Rhonda, if you scroll to page 31, the verbiage is better. That's in the contract.
That's the one, yeah, that's the contract that we're, Yep.
They're 31, my
31.
Page 31.
You're 31.
My 31,
You're 31.
Yep.
right there?
Yep, right there at the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read it.
So just take a snippet of that and use that as our messaging, right?
I think I can handle it, yeah.
Okay,
I
I
think
figured. I'm just saying, I know, I just,
If you need it, call us in if you need it.
yeah,
Okay.
All right, we have a motion
support.
with support. We have a motion with support to approve the new contract for Republic Services to be the single service waste hauler for the Village of Middleville. Any further discussion before we vote?
Can you back up for me 1 second? Because I'm sorry, I thought Mackenzie made that motion, but Dick made the motion, Mackenzie supported,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
Well, that's what I wrote down, so we're good.
Okay.
Okay. I'm ready.
Contract probably has roll call.
No further discussion? All right, Rhonda, may I have roll call, please?
Mackenzie Peters,
Aye.
Kevin Smith,
Aye.
Ian Williams,
Aye.
Steve Baldry,
Aye.
Robert Bishop,
Aye.
Richard Hamilton, Mike Kramer.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, we are on to hi, what's up?
We are looking at asking council.
Is he sneaking in
They're
there?
out of order.
I think we skipped.
We skipped some.
Did I skip?
Yep,
Oh, what did I skip? I'm sorry.
We have DDA appointments.
it's all right. I mean,
Are you sure?
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a faith builder, ladies and gentlemen.
It's all right. Move right along.
We're just testing the audience today.
So in front of you, you should have my recommendations for DDA member appointments. We did interview Derek Dean, and then Courtney submitted her application. So these are the two replacement appointees that I have chosen for the expiring terms.
So I just had a couple questions, if I may. Typically, last time we had DDA appointments, there was a committee that was put together, and I think you're on this past committee as well, where each applicant was interviewed, and then a recommendation was presented by Gretchen to the board approved it, then came to us. I'm just curious why we didn't follow that process this time.
Because that's not the legal way to do it. The legal way to do it per the letter of the act is that the chief executive officer of the municipality makes the appointments and the board approves them.
Granted, I understand that, and I'll have to refresh myself on that, but when I look at trying to work together collectively as a group, and we had set precedents before of trying to work together and not allowing the DDA to participate in their appointments, always seemed to be a good option. I don't know Courtney. I think her application was very professional and stuff like that, but I don't know if the DDA also had a chance to vet her as well. When I look at the applicants, we have Joe Mancini, who put in his application back in December, Andrew, who put his application back in January, Derek Dean, who put his application also in January, and then Courtney on Friday, this past Friday. I believe there's 3 positions open that can be for township and village people in one position open where the person has to live within the DDA district, I believe is my understanding.
The township position is filled.
Yeah.
And the third position was vacated on Monday.
Okay.
Well, the fourth, last Monday.
Last week.
Yeah.
So out of the 4 applicants, how many positions are there for them to fill?
There are 2 being filled and 1 is being posted for 30 days because it was vacated last Monday.
Okay.
So there's still an open position for a business member and there's an open position for a resident in the district.
Okay. My only concern would be, timeliness of applicants. Andrew and Joe still serve on the board. Are they still going to be on the board then, or
These 2 would be
their positions?
their positions, yes.
Okay. I still feel that because they applied and they've been active parts of the DDA, it'd be more appropriate to grant them that position because they've proven to, Andrew does all the Lions fireworks stuff. Joe does so much for the DDA when it comes to festival organization as well as, helping out with the Riverbank series. I feel that would be more appropriate. And that's
Well,
just my 2 cents.
And that is a fair opinion.
Yeah.
But the purpose of the DDA is, this is an investment of taxpayer money
Mhm.
for the sole purpose of development in the downtown district. The intention here is to move the needle on the taxable value in that district, and we haven't moved it in 10 years.
I do think that's because we haven't collaborated well and provided a direction for the DDA, and it's been constant turnover of directors. So I look forward to having that joint session in April, and where we can collaborate on a strategy to move forward. But I can't blame current board members for lack of progress if they haven't had set goals in that direction. I just know that they do cooperate very well with the activities that they do participate in and the DDA does participate in this village. So,
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
is there any reason why we can't have more board members, the people that really want to serve? I mean, are we restricted in the number of board members?
I would have to read more into it
I wouldn't think so.
because this was just, there was 2 appointments that expired and I made
Yeah.
2 new appointments.
Yeah.
The act does specify a larger number and we even had interest from Ann.
Yeah.
Because
Can we
The-
allow Kim to stand up and talk with us since she is the chair representation?
Scott, I
of
can't hear
the-
you. Speak,
Can we
please.
allow Kim to come up and talk with our discussion? Since she is a chair of the DDA to answer questions, is that a allowed thing or no? Or,
she can if she'd like.
okay, Kim,
So to directly answer your question, it would have to be changed by this council, but they could go up to 13 members.
Yeah.
9 to 13 is the allowable
I
amount.
mean, it seems to be a positive move to have people who, want to serve.
But that would require a change in the
bylaws.
in the bylaws and potentially even in the DDA footprint,
Charter and all that.
all that stuff. So
Okay,
just say it can happen, but it might take a lot of work. That's all I'm saying.
okay. Just wondered.
Mr. President, I want to give you the opportunity you're going to certainly have comments after I say what I'm about to say.
Okay.
I think there's a couple of things that we need to consider, even if first of all, we have the opinion, we can, as a board, can have the opinion whether we agree or disagree with those appointments. So this isn't the end of the line, right? So, but one thing that I want to be very open to is in terms of collaborative efforts between the DDA and the village and this board itself, we've obviously had challenges with that. And I think, we can look at this 2 different ways. We could do business as usual and continue what I consider to be a bit of friction between 2 boards and Gretchen, who's doing her best to serve this community as well. There's a number of different opportunities for us to look at this and say, we can continue down this path by doing what we've always done. We can expand that complexity of that by adding additional members to that board, which I'm not entirely certain if that's an answer either. I've proposed and had discussions offline, and we are certainly waiting on a more detailed approach to potentially looking at how we can retain the DDA, continue to leverage Gretchen and her skills and her talents, but restructure the DDA to where it would then report, Gretchen would report to or through the DDA and have planning committee oversight, where that particular move would then potentially place Gretchen under somebody like Doug, who can then mentor and work with her with regard to opportunities in the community, but also still leverage Gretchen's talents. She's very talented and very gregarious and very easy to work with. I'm looking for ways not to preserve a board, but more just the talent that we have in Gretchen. And I think having a very experienced oversight board that is committed to the specific task of growing and developing our community, it might fall better under the planning committee versus having a bespoke board as well. Now, I know that that's a big move and that there's some serious shifts in how we would structure that. And I think that that's worth exploring. But I also think that we lack visibility. And I think the DDA is doing the best that they can with the talented people who are volunteering all the time. And this is an amazing, what we benefit from is amazing because we have these downtown activities. We have a lot of community members coming to downtown to experience really wonderful events, and part of economic development is community involvement. I think that there may be an additional arm of that function that may potentially be falling short simply because it either lacks appropriate guidance or direction or strategy. And I think that it's much more complicated than where it is today. And I think to serve the community, step back and say, how do we preserve Gretchen and her talent, really create a safe environment for her to grow and thrive in her role, but also get it to a place to where we have a really
Efficient.
apolitical board that allows for targeted efforts where we can be seeking specific types of funds and initiatives. I don't know that that's the answer today, but I do know that it would be really helpful if maybe we brought in somebody like the MEDC, where we could get some counsel from them and have a collective conversation, both with this board or members of this board and members of the DDA board, and have a really open conversation where we can bring a list of really burning questions and concerns to that meeting and get the wisdom of the MEDC to apply their experience to our situation so that we can have an outcome that makes sense.
Mr. President, that sounds like a workshop. I'd like to make a motion to approve your appointments and we move on.
Have a motion?
I mean, that's a totally different subject. The subject is appointing some people that have applied. I think we should move on and go to the workshop concept. That's excellent. That's excellent. It's also excellent because we're talking about having a leadership strategic planning jointly with them. So I think what you've said is perfect in my mind. But we need to make the appointments and stick to the agenda and move on.
But that was my question. My concern is the actual people being appointed.
Yes.
So you want to make the appointments per presidents?
Yeah, he's made the recommendations, and if we want to add people on, work strategically, we can add people on. We've got the business before us, and my motion is to accept his recommendations. And if we get a support, we can vote on it, up or down.
My only concern, if I may, Mr. President, is again, just reiterating.
Point of order, Miss.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Should check, Mr. President, if there's a second.
Just waiting to see if anybody's going to support it.
I'll support.
We have a motion with support to appoint.
I just got a question, because remember in our training, we said even after the support, you could ask something.
Okay, we have a motion with support. Any further discussion before we vote?
Okay.
How about that, Steve?
Well, you know, Everybody says I'm too
Now we can
quiet all the
discuss it.
time, but.
Okay.
May
Miss-
I?
Mr. President, I think Ms. Peters wanted to discuss first and then probably, not to,
Yeah, thank you, Craig. I appreciate it, Mr. President, if I may. Again, my concern is, experienced board members are going to be no longer on the board if we make these current appointments. Kevin's point is having experience when we're doing these collaborations. I really think in the spirit of collaboration and leadership, we should be collaborating with the recommendations of the DDA committee that interviewed applicants. And I haven't seen that actual page of Gretchen's recommendation that she presented to the board. But I feel that we're not considering existing board members that have put their heart and soul into their volunteer positions. So those are my points.
I agree.
And those are fair points, but to be clear, the DDA is not a volunteer board. The DDA is a downtown development board. And we have not developed in 10 years. The DDA has had a budget. Hold on a second. DDA has had a budget, let me get back to my page here because I closed it, of $2,012,050 over the past 10 years. When we were going through the redevelopment ready community process, they were invited to participate and declined. That is our single greatest tool for development that we've had in the past 50 years. We got a boatload of money to help redevelop 101 East Main and put that back on the tax roll. We have gotten 3 conceptual designs to help us encourage development in the community, one of which we're receiving bids on right now. One that we had bids, but the market fell through. And another one where they might be developing right now if the developer hadn't passed. And that's development. That shouldn't have been handled by the planning commission. That should have been handled by the DDA. They were invited, they chose not to participate. We got a huge project in the Mid-Villa Flats. They did not support the plans when it was presented to them. We're not developing. We're focused on the wrong things right now. And I think when you say experience, I don't want to shortchange what's been done because everybody loves the events and we appreciate that. But we've lost sight of the original goal and what's supposed to be happening with that board. And I think it's time to start bringing that back in before we lose it. Because right now, you have to explain to our residents why we've spent $2 million over the years that could have gone towards parks, that could have gone towards infrastructure. We've spent that on events.
We
with
did
the-
not. You
but-
can't
well-
stand here and keep making these accusations and not let me
Well-
defend.
Well,
We
They're
have
not,
done,
they're not accusations.
they are accusations.
I just
The-
went through your
we-
budgets.
No, we were part of that readiness. I can tell you Catherine Smith worked on it. I can tell you that Gretchen has been talking with
Ms.
Doug
Jackham,
about it.
Ms. Jackham, I served on that redevelopment ready community board and you guys were not present through the entire process.
Maybe she wasn't present when you were there, but she was working on it. We have put in a pavilion. We have redone the train depot. It is your council that denied this green space, not my DDA board. And your question on if you are CEO is questionable because we do have documentation from the lawyer that says otherwise. So that's questionable. That has
So
nothing to do
The
with the fact.
CEO of the
No, let me
DDA,
May I have
finish.
point of
I
order?
didn't interrupt
Point of order,
you.
please.
Okay.
Yeah.
thank you. Your opinion is appreciated.
Thank you, President. I still, excuse me. We have a motion, it's been seconded to approve 2 people. And that we still want to go back and wrangle about how we're going to strategically plan and use the DDA as Kevin eloquently talked about. I think the point of order is, a motion is on the table, we should vote it up or down and move on.
All right, we have a motion with support to approve the appointment of Courtney Lull to a 4-year term on the DDA expiring 2/13 of 2028 and to appoint Derek Dean to fill an unexpired term on the DDA expiring 3/28 of 2027. Alderman.
I was just saying, Steve had other stuff.
Oh,
I just-
that's right. We didn't circle back to Steve.
I had just one question. As the new guy on the block, you're the CEO, that you can bring the two appointments to us
Of the municipality,
Mhm.
correct.
without considering the other applicant. But that is a rule of our, okay, that was my question. That's where I was confused.
All right. No further discussion? All those in favor?
Nay.
Aye.
Nay.
Well,
I didn't
we have
say
to
nay.
wait.
Oh, sorry. All nay.
Might be,
Maybe a
might
roll
be easier to
call.
be.
I think a
All
roll
right,
call.
we'll do roll call.
Kevin Smith,
Nay.
Ann Williams.
Nay.
Stephen Baldry,
Aye.
Robert Bishop,
Aye.
Richard Hamilton,
Aye.
Mackenzie Peters,
Nay.
Mike Kramer.
Aye. Ayes have it, motion carries. All right. We are on to Alec and the Dearborn Street reconstruction project.
Apologize for getting up a little early. I misread the agenda. So what council has in front of them is a bid of recommendation from Williams Works. I believe Craig emailed that all to you on
I
Friday.
did. I think it was Friday. Might have been earlier.
Thursday or Friday.
Might have been earlier than that. But.
Just for reference, Williams Works along with staff is recommending, and for council to consider and approve, toward contract to Georgetown Construction for the reconstruction of Dearborn Street, including water main, sidewalk, and curb and gutter in the amount of $637,519.50.
Can you say that number one more time?
It's $600,307.
Where is it?
$637,519.50.
I got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's in my.
So this is something that normally would come to committee of the whole. It was not ready in time to still hold the committee of the whole, which would have been the only item on the agenda at the time. So as soon as we had it, we got it out to you. But it is something that can be approved today, even though it hasn't had, or you can, move it to the next meeting or something like that. But the sooner the better to get the project started, in our opinion, so.
And I am open to any questions, thoughts, comments.
Well, let's get a motion on the board.
I have
Let's
one.
get a motion on the board and then discuss it, and please. We've talked about that in our leadership. I make a motion to accept this bid.
I'd like to hear more from Alec.
I have just a couple of clarifying questions before we put something on the table here. Mr. President, if you don't mind.
All right, we have a motion without support, so we will continue discussion.
In your opinion, Georgetown being selected, any key points that made them a better solution than the other two?
So a couple key points. One of the major contributing factors is, just to be clear, Georgetown Construction was the second lowest bid. They were not the lowest bid. The lowest bidder, there was a large discrepancy in myself and engineer's opinion on the water main construction. The main thing on the water main construction of this project, the water main will have to be bored and tunneled underneath Spring Creek in that specific area. Calling in contractors and different things, doing some research, to purchase the pipe itself, just to get the pipe on site, is about $30, $35 a foot. On this particular bid, let me make sure I'm clear on this before I.
They were considerably low because they were gonna.
Yeah, on this bid. Sorry, bear with me. There we go.
They only
Okay,
corrected it
on this bid,
$2,000.
Yeah, on this bid, so three bidders were Georgetown Construction, Open Construction, and USA Earthworks. On this bid, Georgetown Construction came in at $200 a foot. Open Construction came in at $58 a foot. And USA Earthworks came in at $60 a foot. So just to be clear, to purchase the pipe and get it on site, from the sources I've talked to, is anywhere from $30 to $38 a foot to get it on site. That's no installation. And was speaking to them, and the comments that were told to the engineers, they did not catch that on the plan, and there's oversight on their part, but they would honor their bid. Along with that, we do have some open items that have been outstanding on Third Street from USA Earthworks that we have yet to, until today, hear back from. The engineers have been trying to get a hold of them for the last 2 months. So it was minor stuff, just more paperwork kinds of things, but it's taken 2 months to get a hold of them. Like I said, it's staff's recommendation to approve this. Staff does realize it is $43,000 additional cost, but we're looking at the quality of the job and time frame of the job. At this point, Georgetown Construction, they're saying to mid to late June 1st start date on this project.
Okay.
So it is, and I want to be clear, I am not saying no way, shape, or form I do not want USA Earthworks in town. I am saying that for this particular project, it'd be a recommendation to go with Georgetown Construction. And we have not worked with them personally, but Williams Works has on several different occasions, and they're very pleased with their work.
If there was nothing else, I would go on that. Thanks.
Any other questions?
You answered the question I was going to ask.
They missed the horizontal drilling.
Yeah, Mackenzie?
Put my motion forward again.
I'll support it. We have a motion with support to approve the bid for Georgetown Construction in the amount of $637,519.50 for the repair of Dearborn Street.
Can I add just a little bit? And,
Absolutely.
allow a village manager to sign all related documents.
And that. Any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none. Rhonda, roll call, please.
Ann Williams,
Aye.
Steve Baldry,
Aye.
Robert Bishop,
Aye.
Richard Hamilton, Mackenzie Peters,
Aye.
Kevin Smith,
Aye.
Mike Kramer.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. Included in your packets, you have the draft minutes for the planning commission from February 6th. I didn't remember seeing informational items. So we are down to public comment. If anybody would like to speak, please take the podium.
Hello, my name is Andrew Beck. I had the great privilege of serving on the DDA until today. Never been fired as a volunteer, so I really don't know how to take that one. I don't even, man. You got some big shoes to fill. I might just stand here for 3 minutes, Mike.
That's fine. No one's
No one's nothing, man.
no one's
No one's-
shortchanging your contribution, but
You're
we
right, Mike.
we haven't.
How do I become a Mike Lytle? How do I put in 27, 30 years to my community? I can't. You found somebody that's gonna do better than me. You shortchanged me, Mike. You shortchanged me. You shortchanged that man right there, Mr. Joe. All the stuff, that guy is endlessly walking up and down this street, taking care of businesses. It breaks my heart, man. That's what it does. It just breaks my heart. I'm gonna go home and cry about it. It hurts. You know what the great part about America is? Checks and balances. I highly suggest you guys implement checks and balances so he doesn't just run away.
Anybody else?
And thank you, Mackenzie. Thank you for caring.
Kim Jackham again. 3 weeks ago, I sat in here with 6 out of the 7 of you. And one of the top things was transparency in communication. I am not sure why the DDA's recommendations got pulled by Mr. Kramer, why Mr. Kramer thought that we had to interview some clients, but we didn't have to interview the one that he chose. And this has nothing to do with you directly. This has to do with the way LDFA got Craig to come and do theirs. Doug got to come and do planning and zoning. We are not treated the same, and we should be. And we should not be micromanaging each other. And I have reached out to you countless times to please work with us. And once again, you decided you couldn't communicate and work with us. And that makes this a sad evening in Middleville, because we are talking a veteran, a hometown hero, voted for, that has given countless hours for this community. We're talking another man who has helped for 2 years with every market, every Christmas, every event, every night, every movie. And you just decided to take it upon yourself to ignore what the DDA recommended. So how are we supposed to go forward with you, Mr. Kramer? I am pleading with you again. Please work with us and quit your micromanaging. Put away your personal vendetta against me, against Andrew, and work with us, because this was wrong. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Hold on a sec, let's finish public comment.
Oh, excuse me.
Anybody else?
Hello, my name is Karen Beck. Andrew's obviously pretty upset, but I know when we get home and everything settles down that he is sincerely grateful for the opportunity. So I just want to speak on his behalf. Thank you for the opportunity that he did have to make an impact in the community. When he first signed up for it, he's like, oh my gosh, like, what do I do? And but I really feel like even at home, you guys know, you come here and you have meetings, but you do so much outside of the meetings and stuff like that. So I know you guys know what goes into it. Thank you for the time that he had and the opportunity to serve in the community, because we moved here 12 years ago from Kentwood, something like that. And that was our home. I grew up there. That was it, and now we've moved here and this is our home. So I know once all the dust settles that this was good for him and for our family. And I know it was good for our community to him serve in this capacity. So thank you.
Anybody else? All right, final council comment?
Yes. I'd say let's don't lose sight of what Kevin was talking about. You can form subcommittees, you can form commissions. We've got some good people that just talked about their love of this community and the things that they can do and have done for our community. We need to move beyond the mentality of what just happened here. What happens, we appointed 2 new people who are interested as well. And we've got people that still want to serve. What Kevin was saying is what we really need to be doing. And that can involve more than these 2 people that are, and I'm sure both of their feelings aren't hurt so bad that they wouldn't serve on a commission, for example, planning commission for the DDA that establishes strategic planning in the direction of business development in the community, besides recreational planning. We can do both of those things. We should be doing both of those things. So that's where I stand. I stand on what we've done. I stand on what we should be doing.
Okay.
I'll go next. if It's all right. And I hope you'll indulge me a little bit. As a manager of a business and have 55 staff members under my belt, I have to treat everyone equally. I have to make sure that I do things that are consistent across all departments. I have to make sure that as a person that can do whatever they want to do, I exercise my authority in my business properly to make sure that staff feel safe in that environment, make sure they feel heard in that environment, and make sure that they have a guideline and guidebook to follow. When I see inconsistency on how we, as a board, we talk about setting procedure and policy and then forego what we've discussed, I don't think that's good management. I can't blame the DDA board for lack of development over the last 10 years because they haven't had good strategy or direction given by this board just because everybody doesn't seem to want to communicate with each other. And that's gone on both sides. I've been here 3 years and I've seen that on both sides. I think that we can do better. We should set precedences and adhere to them. When we agree on doing one board, we should be consistent across all boards. And I am excited to see, I think Courtney and Dean have good attributes that they can contribute, but I'm also very saddened to see that the two members that have been on the board and have shown a commitment to change and to go with the direction of this council were not reappointed. That's it.
Mr. Bishop?
I have nothing.
Mr. Baldry?
I agree a lot with what Kevin said. As, again, the new guy on the block, I can tell you from the outside looking in and when you talk to other residents and that type of thing, there's always been quite a bit of friction between DDA and council. And there's been different council members and that was still going on to the point that we're always, there's directors that are resigning and it's turnover. And there's a lot of people, again, from the outside looking in, that don't really know what they do. They don't really know what we do with them. And I agree, we need to come to some kind of resolution here. We all live in the same village. We shouldn't have to be enemies for crying out loud. So, you know, we all have an idea of what we want downtown to look like. We all have an idea of how we want this village to grow and be better. Then I guess we need to get together and talk about those ideas. Otherwise, you just throw a dart and see whatever sticks, you know. But that's my opinion.
Kevin?
I agree that the process that led us to this moment was inconsistent. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with how Mr. Kramer did what he did because it is, by the way, written, so he has that option. And that was something that was voted in years ago. I disagree about the inconsistencies, and I think that we really could have done better to hold ourselves to a standard by which we as a board, we're a governing board, and we govern through consistency and predictability. And I think that that's where it establishes trust between us and the community. To echo what I would assume everyone on this board would agree that Andrew and anyone who participates in that capacity is doing so at their own peril, because it's a time sink and it's certainly a thankful job. And my heart goes out to anybody that puts that much effort and energy into any initiative. And you know, sadly, it could appear that the how this board voted tonight was falling very short of a thank you for that. I also want to just double down and say that, Andrew, you, outside of the DDA, you've certainly made community impact. I think you are passionate and communicative with a lot of not only businesses, but other members of the community, and do move the needle in a lot of different ways. I think that the DDA is certainly one vehicle, but not the only vehicle. And I think that you're talented in so many different ways outside of the DDA that it would be remiss of me to not acknowledge that. It's inspirational, to be quite frank. So that said, I do believe that leading well means that we can come to terms with not just what we're capable of doing, but what we what we should do. And I think that that's a strong message to anybody on this board that we do need to act in a consistent manner and give everyone the opportunity that they need or deserve to be treated fairly and equally. So I feel like we did fall short on that, and it saddens me that we didn't recognize that in our vote tonight. On a go-forward basis, I really do want to double down on how we can make it effective and what we can do collectively. And I think it's going to require a collective effort in order to come to terms with that. So one way or another, we're going to sit around at a table and we're going to have to look each other in the eye, and we're going to have to, as adults, agree to agree and agree to disagree on a lot of very key points that are going to bring us forward. I think we have the opportunity to use this moment as a stopgap to get us to where we really do need to go. And regardless of who is appointed tonight, it may be long-lived or short-lived, depending on the outcome of how we choose to vote. The 7 people that sit at this, in this council are ultimately the last word on how this gets managed. And we should really dig deep and find out what we want for this community long-term, because I do believe that while the DDA is certainly producing outcome and certainly producing very visible signs of community involvement, we also do want to grow. And we also do want to invest time, effort, energy, and our treasure in outcomes that continue to move us forward. I think as a board, and every board that has been here before me has failed miserably at a long-term strategy on how we are to work together. We have never spent time on it. We don't discuss it. It's never part of any MCAL meeting that I've ever been to. And I'll be honest with you, as a board, and with all due respect, whether you lead 50 people or 2,000, the reality is we owe the people that serve at the pleasure of our voters a strategy and a vision, and I don't believe that that's ever been provided. So if we want to solve this problem the next time we start having these conversations, that we're committed to that. And I think that that is the only way that we're going to be able to get beyond the politics of this and get beyond the ambiguity of what it is that we're trying to accomplish together. So with that, I appreciate the opinions and the outcome of this board, no matter what we vote on and how the outcome is. It's certainly, in the moment, is the right thing. And I appreciate everybody's unique perspective. And I hope that we can use this as a learning to apply to the next time we have this conversation.
Okay, first of all, Andrew, Karen, thank you. I've known you guys since Kaya and Amelia were in kindergarten. So you guys have given so much and very appreciated. Dad, thank you. You're awesome. I'm not very knowledgeable. I don't talk a lot. I listen, but it was glaringly evident that there were lots of miscommunication, lots of inconsistencies, and it has to stop. I've only been on this board for a year. I've been in business for 2 years. I've been in the market for 2 years before that. And it has been inconsistent since then. And I'm sure before as well, you've said. So things need to happen. Things need to change. And it's just sad that there has to be hurt feelings. And yeah, I don't know what to say about that. But yeah, we need to change. We need communication. That's all. Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming.
Well, yeah, they are inconsistent. This is the first time I was allowed to participate in my appointments to the DDA. All of the interviews till this date were scheduled while I was at work. So it has been inconsistent because I have not been able to interview the applicants that I'm supposed to be appointing. So this time I did. And I am not required by law to include the DDA, but I did. I did allow them to participate in one. And then the other one, I got an angry email and In my volunteer positions, that's how you find board members. You get people that are angry that things aren't being done right, and those are the most motivated. So I made my appointments based on how the DDA Act reads, people with a financial interest in the district and people that have things to lose are gonna score higher than people that don't. And that's the act, that's the intention, to make your business thrive. You wanna bring more business in, you wanna bring in more foot traffic, you wanna move the needle. That's the plan. So that's the hope. But that doesn't mean that Joe and Andrew can stop volunteering. It doesn't mean that you're done. This isn't a volunteer board. This is a government board that's supposed to do business. But the volunteer aspect, no one's going to stop you from doing it. The DDA can absolutely contract you to continue to run these events. And then that takes that discussion out of the DDA so the DDA can do its job so that we don't lose Gretchen like we've lost so many other DDA directors because there's 26 subcommittees and there's just so much work for someone that's salaried for $58,000 a year. That's a lot to ask for somebody to be late nights, constantly at meetings. We need to get back to what we're supposed to be doing. And to change that culture is what's going to happen. And I don't want to discredit what you've done because the community loves the events that are put on. The DDA just isn't the vehicle for that. It's not a service group. It's a government corporation to develop the downtown. And we need to be doing corporation things, not Lions Group things, not Rotary things. I would love to see you guys start a service group and just let us write you checks and you do all the planning outside of the DDA and continue these events. Because we can't do this as a government. We have a responsibility to our taxpayers to make sure that we're not wasting their money. We need to invest in the community. It's $2 million that needs to go back. We need to start seeing buildings come up. We need to fill in these empty spaces. We need to put our focus there. And those are the discussions we're not having. Because we're talking about mailboxes, we're talking about music acts, we're talking about speakers downtown. We need to get back. And that's why I made my appointments the way I did. I don't, a culture to get back to being a body. So with that being said, oh, go ahead, Rhonda.
Sorry. Do you have anything?
I think so, except for just a reminder to check out the GIF or Berry County Fair. Sign up early, sign up often. The more you sign up, the less the staff has to be there. So appreciate you.
I had just a reminder that your next meeting is on a Wednesday, February 28th, because February 27th is election day. This room will be full of people voting. And then since Steve didn't do it for himself, kudos to Steve. He did a virtual elected officials training on Saturday and per his email found that helpful. So that's all I have.
How was that? Because
It was very well presented. It was very low key, so to speak. Had a lawyer in and out. Started off with 4 people that had been elected to councils from 4 different places in the state that had been 20 years, probably each one of them. And they were talking about what they didn't know when they started, and worked their way up type of thing. The lawyer went over the Open Meetings Act again, just like we had our own. And he fielded a lot of questions. It was one of those rare Zoom meetings, in my own opinion, where you could really real-time stuff. And it was well done. The presenter was very well prepared and well done. So yeah, I learned quite a bit.
I've done that one. There's a lot of good stuff in there. I would think it should be coming up again since it's an election year. Probably be seeing it in the fall.
Gene Lammer and I went to Paw Paw for ours in a snowstorm. And that was what I was going to ask. The thing that I found most beneficial was the questions that were coming from the other people who were there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, there's like 47 of us. That was, and she answered every one of them. Lawyer answered every one of them. That type of thing.
okay. All right.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Have a motion? Support. With support to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I oppose. Let's stay here all night.
Which one of our board members is the computer whiz?
You need a planning commission. You need Jason.